lot has changed in the past 300 years. People are no longer obsessed with the accumulation of things. We've eliminated hunger, want, the need for possessions.
That's an important lesson from Trek, and really one we need to hear more often. So for this and other messages, pick up Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 on DVD. Get all the episodes making up this historic first season, including such groundbreaking ones as The Naked Now, where a drunken Wesley nearly destroys the ship. Justice, where we visit a peaceful, idyllic planet populated solely by blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people. And its counterpart, Code of Honor, where we see a strife-filled world populated solely by black people. All this can be yours for the mere cost of $139.99. And remember, if you want to hear the full and unabridged message of the evil of accumulating things, be sure to pick up all 7 seasons. Or maybe not. This is just an episode with an opinion.
99 resolute, floating in the summer sky. Panic says it's weather love. Company from somewhere west. The one within brings to light. Opens up one eager eye. Focusing in on the sky. 99 resolute.
Welcome to our latest Maurice Hurley story. He gave us Hide and Q, our last Q story. And while this isn't directly a part of the Q line, it is a lead-up to our next Q chapter, and it sets up for the introduction of the Borg. And beyond all that, it has one other aspect that's perfect for our purposes. It's just bad. Not that that's necessarily to blame on him. I mean, after all, he also gave us Shades of Grey. You remember how awesome that was, right? And outside of Trek, he has a successful career as a producer and writer on such a wide variety of shows, from Baywatch to Baywatch Nights. The episode opens with them finding an old capsule from the 20th century. Seeing this piece of Earth history, Riker says, screw it, let it continue on its course to smash into a sun. But Data would like to explore it. After all, they are, explorers and all that. He and Worf find 3 people frozen on board, so they beam the containers back. Like the Swarm, we have 2 different plots running here with little in common, and what's worse is that they are weaker as a result of their connection. The second plot is the disappearance of 2 Federation outposts, and the need to investigate. In these early days, before Rick Berman messed up the music, they used it like an asset, and it is honestly the best thing about this episode. It adds serious tension as Picard lays out the facts, and you get the feeling this could be a suspenseful hour of television. Until you see some redneck drinking a goddamn martini and speaking local colored gibberish. Ah, Maurice. I guess every era needs their Kenneth Biller. This is a story that it not only reintroduces us to the Romulans, but also is meant to be a teaser for a new enemy that would replace the Ferengi as the Federation's real threat, since in their zeal to make them caricatures of capitalism, they created this ape-like joke of a power whose most terrifying aspect was that they might start humping your leg. So this episode is supposed to do 2 important things here, both wrought with dramatic possibilities. You can understand why they figured they would need to pad this out with Picard arguing with a stockbroker. If you focus on the mysterious adversary of the skulking Romulans, well, hell, people might actually start watching the episode. We are also reminded of how, in this first season, Picard is such a complete ass. He calls Data down and chews him out for rescuing them on the grounds that they were technically dead. You can just hear in his tone his irritation that now that they're fully alive, he's going to have to actually start giving a shit. He sticks Riker with them, telling them grumpily to keep them away from him, just like his standing order for dealing with children and, well, pretty much everyone else, I'm guessing. We get to know them a little, but like I said, it's completely at odds with what the plot is supposed to be. It's like being on the interstate and suddenly deciding to just switch from drive into reverse. Your story's transmission is just going to shred itself. It's a stretch of metaphor beyond all logic. Sorry. I'm just really freaking bored.
They are the most unusual humans I have ever encountered. Well, from what I've seen of our guests, there's not much to redeem them. Makes one wonder how our species survived the 21st century.
The pomposity of the first season is really quite sickening. You've got a musician, a housewife, and a stockbroker, or venture capitalist, wherever the hell he is, and Riker regards him like the scum of humanity. He wonders how we survived the 20th century based on these 3, given all the other things we've survived. Is that really what Trek is telling us? Yeah, forget slavery, don't mention death camps, don't bother about female circumcision, never mind suicide bombers, give up on mass human sacrifice, choke down your pleas about cannibalism, and forget about torture chambers. If you want to talk about irredeemable human barbarism, Look to 1980s America. We'll take Hitler's final solution, Jackson's Trail of Tears, and Stalin's purgings, thank you very much, long before we go back to an era of greedy Wall Street investors and drug-abusing country music singers. God, I wish they'd have thought out a gangster rapper instead, just to watch him smack the shit out of this pajama-wearing pussy right before humping his woman in the captain's chair. While all this is going on with Bill Gates and Billy Joe Bob Bubba here, they're seriously hashing out the issue of the Romulans. What little tension is left gets destroyed when our stockbroker contacts Picard through the comm system during an important meeting. Picard finally comes down and tells them to stop using the comm system, as they are for official business only. Stockbroker asks why there's no key required then to use them, and Picard smugly says that there's no need, because they're on a starship and thus everyone should be capable of restraining themselves. Well, with that kind of security, it's no wonder that the bridge will one day be locked out by the ship's cook. We also have to wonder why Picard didn't see the guy's point, considering that Wes once used this open system to mess up the crew and nearly destroyed the ship in the process. Again, the Naked Now that we just talked about. Wesley, one of those dirty, stinking children you so loathe, Picard, the ones that are everywhere, the ones that imitated your voice and announced that Lieutenant Pryor Pantsoff needed to report to your office for debriefing. Anyway, Picard finally gets the gist of what's going on, and we get that quote that you had from the beginning.
We've eliminated hunger, want, the need for possessions. We've grown out of our infancy.
There's two reasons I really, really despise this bit. One is that you can put just about any agenda into what Picard says and have it make just as much sense, because it's based upon a presumed social transformation. Supposing you wanted to preach puritanical ideas about sex, just a few word changes, and finish up by saying that we've grown out of our adolescence, it'd be exactly the same argument. I mean, it's towering arrogance to presume that growing up means adhering to your own personal values. But even worse is how hypocritical this message is. Oh, just before I start. If you are a Marxist, that's your business. And if you want to preach Marxism, hey, knock yourself out. But like the opening illustrated, the DVDs for Star Trek were astronomical. I wound up buying mine off eBay because they were unaffordable any other way. If you wanted them at all, you got them used. Because Star Trek is a cash cow, you see. And so long as the show itself is unaffected, I have no problem with that. Merchandise the hell out of it if you want, just don't affect the quality of the show. But I have a real problem with shelling out that kind of money to acquire something that says it's infantile to acquire things. It seems just a little hypocritical, don't you think? And it's not just the suits at Paramount, Viacom, whoever the hell owns Star Trek now, that are involved in this. The next episode, The Child, was hastily taken because there was a good chance that there was going to be a writer's strike. And there was. You know, it's fine that they wanted more money for their work. But again, I despise people who preach their tirade against money and then discuss how they're going to get more money for themselves. And finally, Gene himself wasn't immune to this. So not only did he want his share of Star Trek, he wanted other people's shares too. Did you know that there are lyrics to the TOS theme song? And I don't mean the whole part. Gene wrote lyrics without the intention of ever using them for that theme song, because in so doing, he'd get a share of the royalties for the theme,